Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asrar Ahmed. I'm here with attorney Abubakr Meah. We're here to answer questions and about the recent developments in immigration law. In a previous life, I used to work for the United States Department of Justice in the Office of Immigration Litigation. Since then, I've left that practice and do other things now, but Abubakr is still engaged in that practice. So I want to give Abubakr a chance to introduce himself, and I have some questions that were pre-populated that I'll pose to him and get his responses for the community.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Attorney Abubakr. Thank you so much, Asrar, for giving me this opportunity. And Asrar is a phenomenal attorney, so I'm one of the attorneys here, and I just practice in immigration law. Inshallah, I know there's a lot of scares in the community, and right now, to be honest with you, there's a lot of reason to be scared. So inshallah, knowledge is power, so my goal today is to give as much knowledge as I can, so you guys can better understand the complexities that are happening currently with the current administration and immigration, inshallah.
Is that on? Okay. All right, Judicial for that. This one back. Okay, so the timing of this event is because of all the happenings that are happening in the community right now. We know that ICE has been here for the last few weeks. I saw on a ring alert on my camera that ICE has also been in the neighborhood again today, so they haven't entirely left our area. So I know there's a lot of fear in the community regarding that. Also, it's a big travel season with the holidays coming up, and people will be entering and leaving the country, flying domestically, going abroad. And so Abubakr has excellent knowledge on what to do in those situations. So I'll kick it off here with a question for you, Abubakr. What are the main concerns for non-U.S. citizens and green card holders that are traveling either domestically or internationally right now?
So one of the biggest questions that's really occurring is that if I'm a green card holder, I have this false conception that I'm safe. I'm a permanent resident in the country. And for a long time, that has been true. It's no longer the case with the current administration. What the current administration is doing is that they are using the immigration statute that when a person travels outside the country on a green card and they return back, they're trying to call that as another admission into the United States. And based off of that, they're trying to look at any kind of cracks that they can see to potentially revoke that green card and put you in front of the immigration judge. And there's reasons for that. They use the INA statute, section 212, and they list, which lists, if you're a criminal, if you've been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude, which means, are you convicted of a crime that is so severe, blatant, against the moral compass, or if you've been convicted of 2 or more crimes, that you would receive an aggregate sentence of 5 years or more detention, or if you, which applies to many of us, our elderly parents and whatnot, you're also subject to public charge. So if you're taking Medicaid, for example, if you're taking food stamps, for example, and you're a lawful permanent resident, it's fine if you're a lawful permanent resident, you're taking that, but if you're coming back into the country and they found your absence to be long enough that they see this as another admission, well then you're subject to inadmissibility grounds.
So is there a difference between being held to scrutiny at the port of entry, or is this something that you're seeing happening across the board, or just a few people are being plucked up?
It's just seeing, it comes in waves. Certain airports, certain areas, districts are more concerning than others. Obviously, the Fifth Circuit is much different than Chicago and whatnot, but overall, that's not the issue here. The issue is that now, for the first time, you have Department of Homeland Security, ICE, CBP, right? They're all kind of working all together with TSA, with the IRS, with all these other government agencies. They're all kind of working together now, and they're sharing one information. So what other better place to pick someone up than at the airport, for example, if the person has some kind of inadmissibility grounds or deportability grounds for that matter?
Yeah, do you mind if I expand on that point a little bit?
Go ahead.
When we think about the federal government, we think about it as one body. but I used to also be an investigator for the U.S. Department of Labor for about a decade. And so sometimes when we're doing money laundering cases and things of that nature, you would think as an investigator I have access to like IRS transcripts or ports of entry to see if someone is trying to escape the country with money. But really what ended up happening is that even one department would have to make a request of another department. And so there was always this bureaucracy even between agencies. Well, I think what Abubakr is elucidating here is that now under the Trump administration, those agencies are freely sharing information that they used to not share before. So it's making it a little bit swifter account of people that are coming in and out of the country. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and it gets even a step further. Right now it's traveling season, right? I mean, people think that just because I have a pending asylum application, if I have a pending some sort of application that's not really status, but it's not status, I'm safe. Well, now in traveling season, TSA, it's domestic, right? Domestic TSA is sharing that same information with ICE. So ICE has that information for people who ordinarily wouldn't be any concern, such as someone who has a pending asylum. Their application is pending, right? They think they're okay. It's no longer the case. They go to Terminal 1 now, there's a good chance that ICE has that information. If they choose to, they can apprehend them at Terminal 1.
So you mentioned, I think, a term here that even I was new to. You said a crime involving moral turpitude. So if I get a traffic ticket going over 20 miles, is that considered a moral turpitude crime? What is like an example someone can relate to here?
Well, I think a traffic ticket is more like a sadqa jariyah for the state. But traffic tickets, that's the key, right? So if it's becoming a pattern, right, that you're no longer safe to society, now this can be seen as an intentional act, gross negligence. So that's where it gets to that gray area and is no longer safe. And, in 2026, these policy changes are definitely going to be taken into effect where they might be asking, asking about these traffic tickets, see if they were dismissed, not dismissed, and whatnot.
One other thing that you mentioned that I remember when I used to practice in the area that was really important for us was that you mentioned Fifth Circuit and you mentioned Chicago. I know that when I was on the government side doing deportations, that we knew, like, if we were in California under the Ninth Circuit, we would likely lose. If we were in New York, the Manhattan District, which is the Second Circuit, we would likely lose. But if we go to the Fifth Circuit, which is Atlanta, I believe, that we would likely win. The government has a very good win rate in the Fifth Circuit. Can you explain to us why does that matter? We're here in Chicago. Chicago is under the Seventh Circuit. So why does that matter to us, and how does that practically impact us?
Well, you have to see that these circuits that go against the government, right, or have a tendency of going against the government. By the way, the Fifth Circuit is Louisiana, Mississippi, right, and Texas. But essentially, the reason why is we don't have an ICE long-term detention facility here. So what ICE does is they'll apprehend the suspect, and they know that this person is part of in a state that's not really friendly towards ICE, doesn't want to cooperate with ICE. So it could be understood that in order to show them who's boss here, they'd likely send those in custody, they'll send them to a circuit that's more favorable to the government. So we all know that where Illinois stands when it comes to ICE and when it comes to Trump. Illinois wants to be a tough guy, So how does the Trump administration, how does ICE get back at Illinoisans is that, okay, when we get you, now we're going to make sure you're going to have a hard time in winning your case. So they'll send you to that circuit that's pro-Trump, which is probably the Fifth Circuit.
A practical example of that is, you all know Mahmoud Khalil from Columbia University that was apprehended for being, outspoken. What happened to him? They arrested him in New York, and overnight, and his wife was pregnant. So she was trying to locate him and figure out where he was. So she's trying to locate him, and where does he end up? Overnight, they transported him to Louisiana. There was not by mistake that they shipped him to Louisiana. They know that in the Louisiana, that federal court there, the government has a 100% winning rate. The government has never lost a case in that circuit in front of that particular judge. So what do? They grab these people in these liberal states and they ship them overnight to Louisiana on favorable circuits. That's why it's important to know which circuit handles which law in which interpretation.
I mean, it's like, for example, it's like Modi, you know, he has the state of Gujarat, for example, and you get apprehended in Hyderabad, right? And in order for you to get a lesson, he'll send you to a court in Gujarat. So that's going to be more towards him. So, I mean, it's just an example. So, likewise, same thing is happening here. The due process system is not there anymore, how in our traditional sense. So, it is very, very scary times for that matter, especially those that have green cards. And even people who are citizens now. I mean, the USCIS and the government in their memo right now, the most recent memo, they have basically instructed USCIS to relook at all naturalized citizens, which is majority of the people that we know are naturalized citizens, to make sure that they did not get their citizenship through fraud. So if someone was to get married, for example, they got it through marriage, and the government thinks, after reviewing it, even it happened 30, 40 years ago, and now they're a citizen, if they think that, no, you know, that marriage, the way they got their green card was through a fraudulent marriage, now this might go into the federal courts and whatnot, and they might, they have a quota of getting 200 people a month. So we'll see how that comes.
One thing that came to my mind as you're saying this is, what if they pick up someone's file and they say, we think your marriage was a sham, okay? Or they think that you intentionally misrepresented yourself in front of the immigration, right? What's the standard of proof? Are they have to prove without a reasonable doubt that you did this, or do you have to just preponderance of the evidence, just kind of prove you did it? What kind of rights do you have?
Well, it depends, though. I mean, if his citizenship is a higher standard than, you know, where it's clear, convincing evidence for someone who's on a visa, for example. I mean, there are different standards, different statuses. But the problem is that it's all subjective in applying those standards, right? The judges right now, a lot of them are scared for their jobs. A lot of them are being instructed to go ahead and close out these cases in a very small amount of time. And likewise, even government officers. So they're being instructed to go hardcore. What I do fear for, once again, is for the green card holders who are taking Medicaid, which is a good proportion of them. And they're taking Medicaid, and they're going on vacation. I can foresee in the coming future that this could be an issue, that when they're coming back, they'll be seen as a new admission, and based off the new admission, they're going to go on the INA Statute 212, which talks about public charge. And then their green card will be taken away from them.
That's a really good point. There's two statutes, right? There's the INA inadmissibility statute under 212, and there's the deportability statute under 217. Do I care? Does it matter?
Yeah, because the 212, dosobara, is more broad. It's more broad. It encompasses more, it's easier for you to fall into that trap of 212. Basically, it's more of a burden for you to prove. But deportability, right, that's 237. That's if once you're in the country and you're inside the country and the government's trying to kick you out of the country, hence deportability. So for that, there's, you know, it's more, it's not as broad. So it's more harder to be deportable than inadmissible.
Okay. So inadmissible meaning I arrive at the port and I say, let me in. You're saying it's easier to turn me away.
Exactly.
Than to pick me up out of this country and throw me out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is the prime opportunity. So a lot of our elderly folks, right, winter months, you know, they go India, Pakistan, Saudi, wherever they want to go. They go in the winter months, they go there, they stay there for 6-7 months, and they come here, you know, another 4 or 5 months or something. That's not going to fly anymore. In fact, the administration, as of December 20, December 26, 2025, so in a couple of days, is actually gotten to a point where everyone who's actually leaving the country, they're going to be taking your facial image and whatnot, and then when you're coming back, they're taking your facial image and whatnot to know the date that you departed and the date you came back into the country, so they can see that 6-month requirement, that if you were out of the country more than 6 months, now see as a new admission, now 212 comes into play, and that's where they're going to come on, oh, you haven't paid taxes, your person not a good moral character, you owe child support, you took in public charge. There's various reasons that they're going to clamp down on you, and you can be in trouble for that.
Understood. That's good to know. One of the things I always fear is that I'm on a lot of WhatsApp groups, and there's a lot of forwards being sent around about Gaza and all these things, and could they search my phone at the border, and should I start deleting stuff on the flight back to America?
They can search your phone at any port of entry, whether you're a citizen, whether you're not a citizen, whether you're now you have certain rights. You have rights to know who the officer is, what they're looking for, whatever. You can inquire about that, and you should, right? But you cannot stop them from interrogating or asking relevant questions or even looking through your phone.
Practically speaking, if I'm flying back from India or Pakistan right now, is it smart for me to land in New York or San Francisco or Chicago instead of some of the other states, just to get past the venue that we're talking about, the 5th Circuit, 7th Circuit, like that conversation we were having earlier? Should we strategize that way?
I mean, it's kind of difficult to say that, because the reality is that it really comes down to the officer that's going to be examining you, and their superintendent or whatever, their superior, and what they have been instructed. But with that being said, just because you're detained somewhere, that doesn't mean you're going to stay somewhere. They have the authority to ship you else somewhere if they wanted to. So it's not, I wouldn't really think too much of that right now. I think the main concern is what is the protocol in us to make sure that we don't, like I said, a lot of our loved ones that spend Pakistan, India, more than 6 months, they're green card holders. They're green card holders, and they stay 6 months out the year, and they try to come back with that green card. That's no longer going to work out. So either they're going to have to make a decision, either they're going to stay or they're going to leave. The other thing is, people have another concern about those that don't have permanent status, right? They're on, on some kind of pending status, and they think that they can go ahead, they can travel freely and whatnot. Well, the burden of proof is now on them to show that and demonstrate that, even if it's domestic travel. So those are the more important imperative things that we should really worry about.
You mentioned 6 months a couple of times. Is that like a test? So if I came back 5 months and 2 weeks, is that better than coming back 6 months?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you were already admitted when you got the green card. So in order to avoid being considered as a new admission, right, you want to fall within that 6 months line. They're using that as the threshold right now. Tomorrow might change. Tomorrow might be 4 months. I don't know. But right now they're using that 6 months threshold.
Okay, just a couple more questions. I arrive at the border. I'm a valid green card holder, and I'm detained. I'm scared. What do I do? So do I start just complying with everything? Do I have rights? Can I say, you know what, I need an attorney, don't talk to me, stay away from me? Is there any of that stuff that I can do?
The first thing they're going to do to green card holders is that they're going to try to intimidate them to go ahead, sign the I-407. That's the form, I-407. If you want to say goodbye to your green card, make sure you sign it. If you want to keep your green card, you never sign it. Okay? They are going to intimidate you to go ahead to surrender your green card. So in order for you to avoid that, you don't sign it. Okay, you say you exercise your right by saying that I want to speak with an attorney. They don't have to give you an attorney. They don't have to give you an opportunity to speak to an attorney, but you have the right to request for an attorney if you are a green card holder. Now, that's different for a citizen. Because this is your homeland, you have a right to an attorney. So I would go ahead, follow the protocol, and work with the officers, be calm and whatnot. But at the same time, do not, if you legitimately think that you didn't break your, that you didn't abandon your status, then don't sign the I-407. There's only two ways to lose your green card, in theory. One is that you give it up, and the other way is that the judge takes it away from you. Those are the two ways, really, you can lose your green card. So if you don't give it up, you're going to be having a hearing from the judge, and let the judge make that determination if you had the intention to give up your green card or not.
Excellent. And not to plug you here for a second, but you're talking about all this stuff, and even as an attorney, I'm not familiar with a lot of these kind of procedures. Is this something you practice in routinely?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I've been practicing immigration law quite a bit, so I'm having practical experience. And this is the only reason why I'm bringing this up, and the urgency is because you see a shift in patterns, especially with the Trump administration. It really, really, really changes. And I've been doing this for 10 years. I haven't seen this fast movement as fast as the Trump administration is doing it. I mean, he came in with the travel ban, for example. Right now, if you're an Afghan national, and you have an asylum status or whatever status, right? It's on pause. You cannot, even if your asylum's approved, you can't apply for your loved one, to come from Afghanistan. Somalia, for example, this stuff is completely paused. It's actually to a point where these people are trying to naturalize, so green card holders who are nationals of Somalia or Afghanistan and Haiti and Venezuela, God knows wherever, these 19 countries. Now it's jumped to 35 or 39, I don't recall. Can't keep up with the Trump administration. But they're going in for their oath ceremony, and at the oath ceremony, they're being stopped. That no, we're going to do vetting on you. You're not entitled to receive a benefit at this time. So these are quite concerning situations. So you can just imagine. And the sad thing is this, right? I tell this people, especially for the Afghans, this was the longest war in U.S. history, 20-year war. A lot of American soldiers' lives, the only reason why they're able to come home is because of the allies that fought with them, these Afghans that fought with them. The Trump administration is not giving them a break. Who are you? So it's just take it to perspective.
Okay, so let's bring this all home for everybody. If we talked about a lot of different topics here, are there 3 or 5 key takeaways you want everyone to know about before they leave on vacation in the next day or two, and as they come back home? What would you tell them? Keep in your little pocket card or cheat sheet.
Well, the first thing is that if you've been convicted of any kind of crime, I would go ahead and speak to a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, if you're a green card holder, that is. Okay, if you're a citizen, go enjoy, come back. But if you've been convicted of any kind of crime, right? What I mean by conviction, I mean even if it's supervision, any kind of admission of guilt. Even the judge, if he said, no, I'll give you community service, that's an admission of guilt. So any form of admission of guilt for any kind of crime, you're a green card holder, times have changed. Before I would say, don't worry about it. You're crazy. You're a green card holder. You're fine. Now, no, go see an immigration attorney to go ahead and discuss with. Another key thing is those that really, honestly, if you don't have a valid case for an asylum and whatnot, and you have a pending asylum, you may want to think that, okay, instead of being somehow intertwined with the Trump administration and whatnot, and, it's not, if I can go back, just go back. Sometimes it's just not worth it, because I can assure you, if you are detained, right, the cost of litigation, getting you out, and let's just say even once you're in detention, even if you sign your voluntary departure, the actual aspect of getting you out may take months. and it's very costly. And all that money that you were working here, whatever, it just went to legal fees. It's not worth it anymore. So, and I think that's what he's trying to do essentially. The other thing that I would also say is that those who are on H-1B or F-1 status and they have changed their status and duration or whatnot, right? If they're traveling, keep copies of the I-94. Keep copies of those documents that you have, because a lot of those documents are not electronically shared with the government, and they may not have that. So ICE may not, for them, you overstayed your visa, but in reality, you changed your status. Keep a copy of that document, because if they're going to come and apprehend you, you can at least show it to them, and then they'll let you go, hopefully. Inshallah.
Yeah, I think we have a question from the audience here.
Assalamu alaikum, Judicial for the presentation. Just a question. I know that, so you talked about different technicalities of if you're traveling, if you're, a citizen, green card holder, or don't have the proper paperwork, the advice. But I think in just the common community, general population, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of misunderstanding that, irrespective of what paperwork you have or not, they're worried. And so amidst that, we've had a lot of people saying, no, walk around with your passport, your US passport, even if you're a citizen, just to make sure that you're not. So have you seen cases like that, or is there any sort of just general guidance out of safety that people should keep in mind or consideration?
Before the last presentation I said was that when someone in the audience said that, should I walk around with my passport? I'm like, no, it's not. No, don't do that. It's no longer a bad idea. It's because what's happening is that people are being apprehended mistakenly. It's good to go ahead to walk around with a picture of your passport or some kind of identification, show that your legal status in the United States. At the same time, it's good to have a friend who's an attorney. So if you guys don't have a friend who's an attorney, find a friend who's an attorney. Make a friend that's an attorney, and it's good to have your attorney's number and whatnot. Also have a game plan, okay? Bond in immigration is $1,500, okay? And God forbid if one were to be apprehended, right, it's a very short amount of time to get access to that $1,500 and try to get you out. So, have a game plan. Don't make it where you have 7 roommates running around and you get $5 here, $10, and everyone is roaming around just to get that $1,500, and then you're already sent to Louisiana or Texas, and then we lost all hope to even get you out because it's one of Trump's favorable states. So have a game plan. Tell your loved ones where you're at and where your money is at, and use common sense in that regards. Also, I understand a lot of us, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, right? Every marriage has their ups and downs, right? But there are severe consequences for those who are not citizens. And this is for a reminder for the husband and the wife, right? There are severe consequences if it can be avoided to get law enforcement involved and whatnot, because these are crimes that can lead. Don't take me the wrong way, here. Obviously I'm just saying, try to work things out as much as possible, because the consequences of deportability and inadmissibility are severely real when it comes to domestic violence and order protection and whatnot.
So that would be another example of a crime of moral turpitude, right? That's what you're getting at?
Yeah, this goes for man and women, right? The courts do not look at spousal, immigration does not look at spousal disputes in a very positive light. So, you know, this is someone's father, right? You know, that you know, you know, the kids may never see ever again. You know, or this is someone's mother that the kids may never see ever again. Like, know those consequences, you know, before jumping on and whatnot.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm a citizen and I'm going to India next month. I have an OCI, so that will work, or I have to take a visa?
That's a very good question. So OCIs, NICOPs, it's all fair game. You're fine. Your allegiance is to the United States, and that's where that comes down to. I think you're referring to that whole dual nationality and whatnot, and you're fine. OCIs for overseas and Indians, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as an Indian national. So that's that. For traveling purposes, you're completely fine. You're completely fine. No, you can stay there for as long as you want. You're a U.S. citizen. You're okay. If you're a green card holder, however, don't be gone for more than 5 months and 20 days or something. 29 days or something. Okay. Which also brings up a good point. You know, there's another issue also, which we were supposed to talk about, was birthright citizenship. We kind of got carried away, but ultimately, you know, even birthright citizenship, that matter is now going to the Supreme Court in July, and children who are born here in the United States, it will more than likely, in my opinion, don't take my word for it, it will more than likely fall for Donald Trump. Because out of the cuckoo-ness that he talks about, I think this one, for the subject of the jurisdiction thereof element, he does have a basis to make somewhat of an argument. And I think the courts are definitely going to, at the very least, entertain it to some degree. So you can imagine even that part of the law, kids who are born here, their citizenship may be taken away.
Abubakr, I have a question. My wife is out of country and she's a green card holder. Is that an issue? She comes back next year.
What?
She comes back next year in January.
Yeah, but it hasn't been more than 6 months, right?
No.
Okay, make sure it's not more than 6 months.
She didn't pass the test for over 6 months.
What about the re-entry permit?
Oh, that's a good one. Good question. So a lot of people come in with these re-entry permit, right? Make sure when you're coming in with the re-entry permit, right, it's up to the officer's discretion to let you in. So make sure that the purpose of the re-entry permit, you have proof of that purpose. So when you apply for re-entry permit, you write down the purpose, right? So make sure you have proof of that purpose. So if I'm getting treatment, for example, dental treatment, maybe show some proof that I was getting dental treatment. If I was taking care of property disputes, for example, show proof of property disputes, property issues, like, you're going to court or whatnot. But show that proof because they may ask for that.
Satisfy that officer.
Exactly. Now, those entry permits, they are going to be scrutinizing those severely, okay? Unless, obviously, if you work for a U.S. company or something that kind of nature, right? If you're working for like Saudi Aramco, for example, or you're working for Lockheed Martin, and it's a different ballgame for that. I mean, it'll be satisfied right off.
I entered the United States on the F1 student visa, F1 visa. So after a couple of years, after 5 years, I lost my status. But I have been out of status for 2 years almost. Then I married to the U.S. citizen. So now I'm a green card holder. So is it safe to travel for a month? Just for a month? I have no crime, no violation. The only thing that I have violated this status for the 2 years.
So I think maybe that one we should wait off to the side for some of these personal questions. It's up to you.
just to let you, just because we're live streaming, just to let you, you're fine. Okay? The admission already happened, right? There's a bona fide relationship. You're still married.
Yes.
Okay, how long you been married for?
5 years.
5 years. How long you had your green card for?
4 years.
Okay, why have you applied for citizenship?
I'm going to apply next year.
Why don't you apply now? She's a U.S. citizen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, why aren't you applying?
Yeah, I have to apply.
No, you apply today.
Okay.
You apply tomorrow. Okay, not I'm going to apply. That's going to be taken away. So anyways, guys, the whole concept of citizenship right now, right, with the Trump administration, he's going to make it very, very difficult in years to come. I can anticipate that to happen. All right, he's taking away birthright citizenship, okay? And the birthright was the fundamental right, but he's not wrong in where he's coming. In his head, he's not wrong where he's coming from. And that's the most sacred right, right? It's the birthright citizenship. Only birthright citizens are allowed to become the U.S. president, right? He's challenging to that degree. So naturalized citizens, it's nothing.
I have another question. So my cousin, like you talked about, like there was a fraud marriage and things like that. My cousin, his wife just came here after 6 years. He applied for her through a green card. He's a green card holder, and she's a green card holder. Over domestic reasons, they got into dispute. Now their case is in the courts. So now the judge is asking him to bring attorney, but he's not bringing an attorney. So, like, would that get involved into, like, ICE?
We got to talk about that.
Yeah, the personal questions, let's hold off. If you have general questions, we could, I'm offering Abubakr's time here for personal questions.
That's serious.
I think your daughter wants to know if you can go home. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to make some closing comments, and maybe you can stay for a little bit, and we can get your number, and you can keep it in your phone in case we get stopped. We can ask, right? Abubakr, is that okay?
Share my number with everyone, man.
Okay, here.
All right, man.
Go ahead.
Who, me? Yeah, no, you give him my number.
Okay, what's your number?
Oh, you don't know my number?
Oh, here. Let me get your number here. Is it just your cell phone number?
Yeah, my cell phone number.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to phone.
Okay, inshallah. So if anyone has a question specifically about immigration or gets stopped at a port of entry or anything, call Abubakr. Phone number is 708-769-3024. I'll repeat that. 708-769-3024. That's Attorney Abubakr Meah, Meah, Abubakr Meah. Jazakallah khair for your time today. There's refreshments in the back for everyone who stayed. That's the prize. And inshallah, Abubakr will be here to answer some more of your questions. Jazakallah khairan.